Today on Locked On Rockies, Sean Sullivan is roughed up in his second major league start as the Rockies drop the series to the Cubs, but the young Rockies offense continues to show some life, especially on the road.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 18th day of June in the year 2026. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Today on the show, we'll be breaking down the series loss to the Rockies in what was an ugly start for Sean Sullivan, but a bit of life shown from the Rockies offense, including the power being able to be a bit of a factor again. After the power outage, the Rockies have been swinging for the fences a lot more, and it was a memorable night for Sterlin Thompson and some other young Rockies as well. We'll talk about that and get you ready for a little bit of the Pirates series as the Rockies finally have a day off, but we'll actually be doing a full preview of that series with Locked On Pirates coming up on Friday. But we're going to dive into the series finale. And again, what's really tough and what's really a bummer about this one is you missed your opportunity to win the series when you handed that first game away. And now this hard-fought series loss here at the end, it stings a little bit more, because you know you should be leaving town with a series win instead of a series loss. We'll dive into all that and more on today's episode, but I want to thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. I am, of course, Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, as I have for over 6 seasons now. That's hundreds of episodes of the Locked On Rockies podcast, going through the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between when it comes to Rockies baseball with you all. And this one certainly started out ugly as Sean Sullivan was unable to really avoid any sort of damage and able to avoid the bats of the Cubs. Strong first inning, but things fell apart there in that second inning as the Cubs plate 7 runs in that frame, including the triple. It was a bunch of extra base hits too, so it was solid contact. It was big damage, and I'm not gonna, the sky isn't falling with the guy yet, but this is just one of those ones where unfortunately you take your lumps. And I think one of the interesting things about this too was the fact that he was left in the ball game to go another 2 innings after the big one, and giving up one more run in that one. But I'm not against it in a sense. Like, hey, this is the big leagues, right? This is what it is. These are the pros. These are the type of guys you're going to see. Obviously, you can sit there and say it might not give you the best chance to win, but it's a guy who really was. You need to get some sort of length, some sort of distance from your starters, anything that you can get. So to even get to the 4th inning there was a big time win for the Rockies, especially as the bullpen there comes out and has a very strong performance between Zach Agnos and Jimmy Rugiet. Back from the injured list there as well. A couple of hits given up, and Agnos unfortunately still dealing with those walk problems. As the broadcast, the radio broadcast was mentioning with Agnos, he's got over 40 innings pitched, and he's got like 20 something walks in that time as well. As it does continue to be the problem. It's just. It was costly in game 1. It wasn't costly as they were able to avoid the damage. Both of those guys working out of jams. Great to see. Good to see. But unfortunately, the young gun there in Sullivan, responsible for the big damage there, is Pete Crow Armstrong, continues to be just such a big time problem. But certainly wasn't the only one doing damage there. Dansby Swanson hits another home run as well, and Suzuki and Bregman all having some RBIs, as well as Shaw, and there were multiple extra base hits as well, as the Cubs, who were awful in this series and struggled with runners in scoring position. Awful with runners in scoring position, I should say. They go 4 for 8 in this game here, and that's doing the damage. But On the plus side, on the good news here, the Rockies offense did respond. The Rockies offense did not go quietly, including the just a couple of those solo shots from Sterlin Thompson, his first and second there. What a cool moment. What an awesome thing for there. It's a loss, sure, that stinks. But when you're, someone and Thompson's kind of had to grind, right, as through his time here with the Rockies and his time at the big league level. For you to be able to hit not only your first but your second, to have one of those type of games, to have a 3-hit day, that's one of those I'm here moments. I belong here. Like if you can go out there and hit the ball out of the yard a couple of times, have a multi-hit day, that's one of those, I think, real big confidence builder moments. One of those things that you do sit there and you say, I'm here for a reason. I am here because I earned my spot here and forged my way through the system to get to this spot, to get to this opportunity. It doesn't matter where the Rockies are in terms of record and stuff. For young guys trying to make their name and trying to establish themselves as big leaguers. When you have these type of moments, when you have these type of opportunities to go out there and put on a performance like Thompson did, was great to see. And what was the cool underscore of this Rockies rally in this one, which was nice to see. Again, this game had blowout written all over it. You were rolling your eyes and everything here because things got away early and the Rockies weren't doing too much on offense. But things started coming together here, and it wasn't just the young Rockies that were contributing, but they were the ones that had the big impact moments. When you're talking about Sterlin Thompson here and Kyle Karros specifically, out of the Rockies' 9 hits, 5 of them came from those two guys at the bottom of the order. Those guys were responsible for half of the Rockies' runs as well, with 3 RBI apiece, and both of them scoring also 3 times as well. So this was a monster day for those guys there at the bottom of the lineup, as Kyle Karros is continuing to get more and more comfortable and confident here at the major league level, and we're seeing a little bit more of the power from Kyle Karros here, just to kind of show you that the improvements that are happening in Kyle Karros's game. Last 30 games, so his last 90 at bats, he's 289, 354 with the 478 slugging. He's got 10 RBIs in that total time here. But when you zoom in a little bit more, you'll see he's got 14 strikeouts in total, right, in those 90 at bats. His last 15 games, he's batting 370, 442 with the 565 slugging. He's only got 4 strikeouts in his last 15 games, driven in 5. He's got that homer that he hit there. He's got 17 hits in that time. And then when you zoom in just for the last week, 429 average, 455 OBP, and a slugging of 714. 1 strikeout in the last week for him, including a walk in that time as well. 3 RBI, that homer, with 9 hits in his last 21 at-bats. Really, really great to see that the growth there and him becoming more comfortable and confident. That's something we do have to remind ourselves sometimes with a couple of these young guys being up here and making their debuts and getting their first look at major league action. We do need to allow some time, some adjustment periods here. And right now, Kyle Karros is making those adjustments and putting himself in a nice solid groove to build up that confidence, to mix with the fact that he has been rock solid on defense there at third base. So I think I saw that it was I think it was Christian Saez of DNVR that was saying this earlier in the week here after the Rockies bullpen blows it in game 1, when we'll talk about that a little bit here while we compare these two games in segment number 2 coming up here. But the Rockies offense is slowly coming along here. It is starting to start forming a little bit more, and to have guys are starting to get into some grooves, getting into a little bit more of midseason form. Young guys are starting to find their swing and find their impact here a little bit more as well. But it's also some other guys in the lineup that have been contributing here. And the other big moment there, Hunter Goodman, another long ball, and he drives into as he continues to be absolutely incredible for the Colorado Rockies, and someone that is just getting totally snubbed in the All-Star game voting. We know that fan voting was not going to treat the Rockies kindly, but Hunter Goodman continues to fly under the radar from people that aren't paying attention to good performance there, as he also continues to be one of the better catchers at challenging pitches and got a big challenge late in this one. But one of the other key takeaways of losing this game, it makes that game one loss sting even more. And I'll describe why coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes KALSHI. When you head to KALSHI, you can trade every game because baseball season is here. It's in full swing. There's action going on around the clock. There's really sports action going on around the clock. In KALSHI, you can trade on every single game. If you might be interested here in this, this is an interesting one. This might be what some teams don't always think about here, but maybe you're looking for an opportunity for a strong payout. Why don't you check out this Angels versus Athletics game here? So the Angels are trading at a 44% probability to beat the A's. The A's got those problems closing out games. We know the Angels can hit some home runs. This could be a shootout. Division games, you never know what can happen, right? So that means $100 payout. That's going to pay out $218.69 if the Angels win. So maybe think about that. Maybe you see what you can go and see the other trades going on here on KALSHI, because on KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the KALSHI app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, KALSHI. Trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. That's kalshi.com/regulatory. We're also brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working towards the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. Remember, the Rockies had to make a big adjustment at the beginning of the season. They had to figure out something that was going to get them all on the same page. The adjustment itself was important, but what was really impressive was how smoothly it was implemented, how quickly folks got on the same role, and that's what Odoo can do for you. Everyone's going to know their role. Everyone's going to be on the same page, and that's what separates good organizations from great ones. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Back at it here for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And you can go ad-free when you join the Everydayer Club, $5 a month, $50 a year at lockedonrockies.supercast.com. Hang out with us in the Everydayer Club Discord server, as well as getting the shows ad-free. Check out your 7-day free trial and more information by checking out lockedonrockies.supercast.com or clicking the link in the show notes. So, again, one of the things that was good to see is the young Rockies having big moments. Cole Carrig there continuing to be absolutely electric for the Colorado Rockies. Really, some people, I was seeing some buzz on social media. It's, this is the most hype since Tulo, the most hype since Story, and everything like that. Really great to see it, and really awesome to see it carry on. I don't know if I'm ready to jump fully in there, but it's clear that Cole Carrig has made an immediate impact on this roster. He's still going to be going through some growing pains, still going to go through the ups and the downs here, but it's a guy that is playing every moment and every opportunity with his hair on fire and wanting to compete, wanting to be in the mix, taking this seriously. He knows how important this moment is for him in his career. This is the time time to make the statement, as the Rockies have to, figure out as they get to the trade deadline and as the season goes on, what does the outfield look like? Who are movable? Who are pieces that could be listed in trades? And actually, just kind of a quick little side note on that. I mean, we could dive into this a little bit more here, just for a second, but it was pretty interesting to fire up Jeff Passan's trade, the top 100. And again, it's top 100, right? It's totally speculatory here, but there were a lot of Rockies listed in here. Christian Sayas of DNVR put them all in the list from the piece here. When you're looking at least names here, and just to see these names listed in this, just to see these options, it might open the door for the possibility, if the Rockies are sellers, and maybe teams might be more interested in them than in some of these Rockies players than we thought. And this kind of relates to what I'm saying here. So if you're Cole Carrig, he's probably not one that's going to be looking at the at the trade piece here, but he could be looking at a whole lot more playing time if the Rockies make some of these moves. Here's the list compiled by Christian Sayas here. Senzatella was 29 on the list, Moniak 32, Castro 44, Hill at 63, McCarthy 66, Sugano 74, Mejia 81, Bernardino 82, Lorenzen 86, and Feltner at 100. I mean, if there's intrigue on a list of these guys, that's going to be if the Rockies sell big, it could be one of the more fascinating trade deadlines that we've seen. But I do wonder, just seeing these names and just seeing them on this preview list, does that really mean a lot? I mean, how much interest truly is there? We'll have to just see. But one thing for sure is, as a lot of people follow up, Antonio Senzatella definitely going to be at the top of the list for that trade. But I'm just saying, for Sterlin Thompson, for Cole Carrig, and I mean, obviously it's not in the same boat, but for TJ Rumfield, for Troy Johnston, for all the young Rockies here, every single time that they are playing in a game, starting, filling in, pinch hitting, whatever, it's an audition to establish yourself as the reason, as you have other guys that are knocking on the door here in the minor league system to be called up as well. So we'll have to just see. But to put a bow on this game and on this series here, what would make this game, this game was a nice hard fought bounce back, especially with the big deficit, the Rockies chipping away. This was one of those games you could file into the Rockies being the chippier version, a more competitive team type of stuff. But it would feel a lot better if it wasn't a game that resulted in a series loss versus what would have just been, you couldn't pull off the sweep because the young arm got roughed up a little bit. That's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow. But the issues, including some miscues in this game, there was some sloppy defense and some issues there with things that weren't the most ideal for the Rockies. But if you win game one, you're playing with house money in this finale. It's a series win, right? Sweeps are good. Sweeps are awesome. Sweeps are great, but sweeps are very difficult to do. And it sometimes the other team has your number. Sometimes the other team comes out swinging and does the big damage. That happens in baseball. It happens in 162 games. It just really hammers home and reminds that point of, you had the chance to win this series. You had the chance to steal that game one. You showed the fight and everything there, but you couldn't get the job done. You couldn't execute there. And it's just that execution and that consistent execution that is still a problem for the Rockies. And that was the case in this one. Great performance for the Rockies in terms of not striking out, but balls were dropping. The defense wasn't able to come up with a couple of clutch plays. And of course, Sullivan wasn't able to execute his pitches there and be able to keep the ball from doing big damage to them, as he was hit hard there across the board. But this type of game and this type of loss, it's one that we've been talking about and focusing on some of the good stuff, but you feel a little bit better and you feel more confident in a loss like this if you don't hand over that first loss in this series. The Rockies should have won this series. And unfortunately, there's a few too many of these examples and a few too many of these cases here. And that's happened now in back-to-back series here for the Colorado Rockies. And they're going up against a Pittsburgh team here that certainly is not going to make things easy for them here, and a Pittsburgh team that wants to make sure that they are the ones keeping up the momentum here and keeping up the strong performance with that. So let's talk a little bit about that, but we'll get a full preview of the Pirates and Rockies series coming up here on Friday when we cross over with Locked On Pirates. But if you remember, Pirates took the first series of the season here, so the Rockies looking to bounce back and get themselves a series win as they try to defend Coors Field. We also got a brief programming note coming up also, or all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Proton VPN. Have you ever noticed how the second you search for something online, ads for that exact thing start following you everywhere? Or maybe you're traveling, trying to access a website, stream a game, or watch content you normally use at home, and suddenly you're hit with that message: this content isn't available in your region. That's why more and more people are turning to Proton VPN. Proton VPN is a secure VPN service designed for people who want more privacy, more security, and more control over how they experience the internet. It helps keep your online activity private, protects your data on public Wi-Fi, and gives you access to the internet the way it should work: open, secure, and on your terms. Unlike most VPNs, Proton is backed by strong European privacy laws, has a strict independently verified no logs policy, and is built by a company focused on protecting users, not tracking them. In baseball, we spend a lot of time talking about gaining an edge and controlling what you can control. The same idea applies online. Having the right tools can make a huge difference in your day-to-day experience. It's always frustrating when you're on the road and something suddenly you have to use all the time isn't available. That's one of those moments where having a tool like Proton VPN just makes life easier because you're not running into those unnecessary roadblocks. It's easy to get started. Right now, Proton VPN is offering our listeners 70% off a 2-year plan when you go to protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb for 70% off your 2-year plan. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. We are also brought to you by Indeed.com and Indeed sponsored jobs. Workplace chaos can show up fast. The problem is that finding candidates can take a lot more time than more successful businesses can afford. That's where Indeed sponsored jobs comes in. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or finding a winning team. One great addition can have a ripple effect on everyone around them. When you find someone who brings the right skills, attitude, and experience, it makes the entire group better. That's why finding qualified candidates makes it so important, and why tools like Indeed sponsored jobs can help make that process easier. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Back at it here for segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. The Rockies dropped the ball in the finale here and dropped the series in general. And one that I can't see as annoying, but man, big home runs, big flies, as the Rockies' power seems to have returned, at least at this point. Remember, there was that stage where the Rockies were going through a homerless drought here, but it seems of late the Rockies are putting up some solid numbers when it comes to the long ball here. And hopefully some home cooking is going to be the remedy here as the Pirates look to stay above 500. They've slipped a little bit here, drooping back down to 38 and 37 in 4th place in the Central, as the Brewers and the Brewers holding a comfortable lead here and are currently 9 games ahead of the Pirates. So the second NL Central matchup in a row here for the Rockies, as the Pirates, they'll want to take advantage of this to get themselves not only higher there, but maybe climb above the Cubs and get themselves closer to the Cardinals as well. On the bump here in the starting game, it's going to be Bubba Chandler here, 2-7 with a 4.76 ERA and a 1.38 whip over 68 innings pitched. He's got 68 strikeouts in that time, so obviously something that's a problem. But here's a big kicker yet again, something that's going to be important and something the Rockies have been being successful here of late at drawing: walks. 41 walks. So if you have a guy that is walk prone coming into Coors Field, this is one of those situations where it's got to be Pain City. This has got to be, if you're handed those free passes, it's got to be a goodie bomb to cash it in. The Rockies have to do damage any single time that they are given that opportunity there. And it's going to be massive. 8 home runs on the season allowed. And again, I think just something that might help put this into perspective a little bit of how impactful those walks might be. Kyle Freeland with that 7.98 ERA, 1.70 whip, and 58 and 2/3. He's given up 84 hits, which is 31 more hits than Bubba's given up. But Kyle Freeland's only walked 16 guys this season, giving up the 14 home runs. More home runs allowed, more hits allowed. That's where Kyle Freeland, can get burned. But if you're Bubba Chandler and you're not 2-7 with a 4.76 ERA and a 1.38 whip with all these walks without any issue here, seems to go about 5 innings pitched there in his time, and his last 4 starts he's given up at least 2 earned runs and at least 1 walk there in all 5 of those last appearances as well. So the walks are going to be a potential difference maker here in this opener of a series. So we'll have to see how the Rockies handle it. Good to have them get a little off day here. I bet as a ball player, an off day, finishing up a road trip, having an off day before a weekend series probably is a nice refresher there for the club. And of course, the Rockies need the good Kyle Freeland, need the solid Kyle Freeland to give themselves a chance here. Pittsburgh has hit 89 home runs here so far this season. So the long ball certainly going to be a threat for them. All right, folks, before we wrap things up here, just want to give you a brief programming note here. I'm going to be taking some time off over the next couple of weeks here, but we have a great series of episodes coming up here with a variety of interviews with folks from the Locked On Podcast Network, outside of the Locked On Podcast Network, tackling a variety of topics from the draft to rebuild philosophies to reviews of the first half of the season so far. So we got a lot of really great stuff coming up for you here to fill in the time. I just wanted to give you a little bit of that update here as the podcast and as the shows will look a little bit different. And our Friday episode will kick off our series here and long bits of recorded interviews here with folks. We'll preview the series with Locked On Pirates, and then we'll have a bunch of great other episodes here coming up to fill in while I am taking some time off. I'll be back. It's just a vacation, it's just a temporary thing, but just wanted to give you that heads up before we get into the crossover coming up here on Friday. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. It's a bunch of interesting conversations here, some good stuff here as we look at the bigger picture when it comes to Rockies and baseball in general. So stay tuned for that. So here's hoping for the Rockies picking up a nice series win against the Pirates, defending Coors Field here, as that is one of going to be the easiest ways for them to get closer to it being, at least in some ways, an above 500 team there. And it's still going to take some work, as a lot of the numbers are not too pretty, but Pittsburgh is certainly going to be coming in here hungry for opportunity. And let me look ahead real quick just to see if the Rockies will see the big, bad, scary man himself in Paul Skeens in this series. Yes, they will on Saturday. Tomoyuki Sagano versus Paul Skeens there in game 2. So it's important. Non-Skeen games, you got to win those if you want to win series against the Pirates. Folks, that is going to do it for us today on Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, the Back to the Bullpen podcast, and the Locked On MLB Game Night. Plus, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.